I'm gonna do my claps.
We've just finished our second trip. It was in Milwaukee. How do you think it went?
I thought it was a great trip. It was busy, packed, 2 weeks. We've actually been to Milwaukee before, and I really like that city. It's really beautiful. It's up there on the Lake Michigan. The weather, you know, was a little bit...
it was cold.
A little too cold for us, which was very funny because we were bundled up in our winter wear, and the locals that hang out in their lightweight shirts, making fun of us. It was a complete embarrassment, especially for me coming from Eastern Europe. But the most interesting thing about Milwaukee is how they're addressing their homelessness issue.
How many people have you housed since the program started?
Well, it's in the thousands by now.
In the thousands, okay.
Yeah. Our last point in time count had 17 unsheltered individuals, which was about a 70% reduction from the year before.
45% decrease in homelessness in our community since we've started the Housing First model. I firmly, to my grave, believe in this model.
Milwaukee has two governments. They have a county government, which is led by the county executive. They have a city government, which is led by the mayor. The county government leads the homeless response in Milwaukee. The unique thing about it is where Housing First agencies are normally nonprofits scattered around the city. The Milwaukee County Housing Division is the Housing First program.
To really do a homeless services system the right way, government has to lead and be active.
We started talking about the Housing First approach. The more I understood about it, the more I started thinking, well, wow, we could do more than just kind of, you know, nick around the edges of this problem. We could really make a big dent in.
We decided to end chronic homelessness in Milwaukee.
That's that's what we did.
I think a lot of the times communities might not listen to nonprofit members or just activists. If that wasn't started from a government entity and a government program, it would have been way harder to have those conversations.
To me, the most intriguing aspect of the Milwaukee story is that they are a prolific example of how, in order for a community to put a dent into a homelessness issue, if not end it altogether, it has to be a complete collaborative effort of the entire community. Like, everybody has to be on board and everybody has to be singing from, what's the thing you say about
From the same sheet of music, following the same melody line.
Don is a musician.
I can't read music, but I do know how to play along with people who do.
It can't just be government or activists or nonprofits. If you really want to change your community, you have to have everybody buy in.
Jim and I would go around and talk to people about Housing First in early 2015. Got a lot of blank stares, a lot of why would my taxpayer dollars go to this?
A lot of skepticism, especially in the business community. But in a few months, businesses downtown totally agree that this is the way to go.
The King Park homeless encampment. We went from 20 plus tents all the way down to 2. Now I think we're down to 0. And those people got the help they need. It wasn't just pushing them off somewhere in a different community, different neighborhood.
And as a representative of the business community, you're saying all of this.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want people in jail. They just didn't know how to deal with it.
Our officers were instructed to seek alternatives to incarceration, try to find solution-oriented ways of addressing a situation.
The vast majority of people who are homeless might have a municipal warrant for a very minor violation that wouldn't even be considered a misdemeanor crime, or on occasion for some low-level misdemeanor crime.
And warrants make it very difficult to get housing.
We'd rather get them into housing and establish a date for them to come back into court and take care of that misdemeanor.
So we clear up their warrants, help them get driver's licenses. All of this is working together to save money and to help people at the same time.
And now we receive direct funding from healthcare organizations and HMOs to do not just housing navigation as a government division, but they're also paying rental assistance. Philanthropic organizations like United Way and businesses that actually are giving our government division private funds directly.
Is it not a little unusual for United Way domestically to be giving funding to a government?
That's not necessarily a typical relationship across the network. This antiquated model of, it has to be nonprofits, that's just silly to me. I don't necessarily care who's doing the work. I care who's doing the work well.
Wisconsin in general, and Milwaukee in specific, they're leading in categories that nobody really wants to lead in. It's almost cartoonish how bad it is.
Milwaukee has had the distinction, tragically, of being the most segregated city in America for a number of years.
Wisconsin is one of the worst places to raise a black child. When we look at the graduation rate, housing, we're leading in a lot of the wrong lists.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin has the highest incarceration rate of African American men in the nation. We know that black men don't commit all the crimes.
75% of our clients were African American. This is absolutely an issue of race and inequality. We see it right on paper.
But they are responding to it. Now there are several African Americans in positions of power and authority in key positions in the Milwaukee government.
I am the county executive for Milwaukee County, the youngest as well as the first African American to be in the seat.
I am the superintendent at the Milwaukee County House of Correction, the first black female superintendent to be appointed.
I work for Milwaukee County, the Department of Health and Human Services, and I'm the director there.
This is how much things have changed. In Milwaukee Municipal Court, there are 3 judges. There's myself, African American male, there's Judge Valerie Hill, African American female, and there's Judge Phil Chavez, Latino male. So we're the only court in the country that's 100% people of color. The sheriff of the county is African American male.
Milwaukee has an opportunity now to elect its first mayor of color or a woman possibly here in the near future.
The systems that have been so bad for so long are finally starting to reflect the population.
Do you look at each other like over the treetops and say, you know, we got a chance here. We don't need to mess this up.
You better believe it. All this time, we've had to listen to what other people thought was best for our community. And now we're in the positions of power to do what we believe is right.
It's a heavy lift. And I think collectively we know this is our opportunity to try to change the landscape.
It's not a hope where everything's going to change tomorrow and everything's going to get better, but it's a hope to say, listen, there may be some new ideas. There may be some new thoughts.
This is our time. It's our time to do it because we have so many people who are excited about the vision. So many people say, enough is enough. It is time for everyone to be treated with dignity and respect.
Do you guys get pushback or do you anticipate pushback if things start to go too well?
That's a great question. I'm not worried about a lot of blowback because that blowback is all of us. If you're doing what's right, it should never be a concern, right?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin is the first city in the country to declare racism a public health crisis. The county's executive says that it's the first step in addressing decades of race-based inequality.
You declared in 2019, as you were leaving, that racism was a public health crisis. Is that correct?
It is correct, yeah. We looked at everything from longevity, which there is still longevity is higher for a poor white male than it is for a wealthy black female or male. Chronic disease is much higher, diabetes and everything that spins off of it. The massively disparate impact of COVID on the black community.
And since my election, we have been building upon that foundation, and our new mission right here within Milwaukee County is that we can become the healthiest county in the state of Wisconsin by focusing on racial equity.
Our whole entire budget process is now viewed through the lens of racial equity. And it's not just for housing, and it's not just about health and human services. All of our county funding.
Things are changing here.
So if they are successful in reforming these systems and make them more equitable for African Americans, the flow of African Americans into homelessness, which is way above the national average, will start to dwindle.
And so, you know, we'll be watching. By the way, remember when the sheriff was talking about how he ran on the platform of restoring
honor, integrity, and trust back to the office of the Milwaukee County Sheriff?
Do you know why he said that?
Like I said, and I'll continue to say, it is pitchfork and torches time in America.
Us three, we was in the same shelter together, and that was the mission. It wasn't about trying to get housing and stuff. It was just trying to get them into the ministry program.
Back in 2018, we became aware of how Milwaukee was responding to homelessness, and we went up and did some filming. And at that time, we were so inspired that we made a short film out of it. There were 2 lived experience people that we spoke with and filmed, one of them was Jeffrey.
When I moved up in here, I was like, how long is this gonna last? They said, as long as you want it to. You can put stuff on the walls and this and that. I was like, yeah, right, because this can end right here.
And it was great catching up with Jeffrey again.
When we first talked that first time, when we did it, I went to church and I pulled it up on the computer for the pastor to see. You know what he ended up doing? One Sunday service, he would say, okay, this service is not gonna be normal like the ones before. He put it on the big screen and pulled it up off the computer and let everybody at the church see what it was.
Oh, the video that we did?
Yeah. And they was like, oh, okay. They started a pantry at the church, and they got a house with like 6 bedrooms in it. And they did it for women with kids and stuff, a little shelter like for women and kids.
All based on your story.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for telling us that.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes us feel good.
Great trip. We'd like to thank you folks for helping us along the way. United Way of Milwaukee, thank you for supporting us on this trip. Jim Mathy, we appreciate you putting together so many interviews on a very short notice. Eric Collins-Dyke and your team, thank you for being so hospitable to us.
The Melville Charitable Trust and the Cooper Housing Institute, big ups to both, because without them, we would not be doing this work.
And our followers, thank you for being on this ride with us. Please, as always, like, share, subscribe. This will really help us spread the word about the project. Hey, leave a comment. Tell us what you think about what we're doing.
Yeah, get involved.
Yeah.
We're creating a narrative of the best way and what to scale up to solve our homelessness problem in this country to the benefit of those who are experiencing homelessness, which just so happens to be the best thing for all of us anyway. When this starts to grab some attention out in the mainstream, there's probably going to be pushback, and what they need to see is an army.
Oh, by the way, if you missed it, we now officially have 3 crew members. Please meet Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly is
still the hardest working man in show business.
He's actually taking a nap back there right now.
Because he's tired.
He works really hard, but never complains, doesn't say much. He likes to take a lot of selfies, and he has his own Instagram account, so follow him there as well as at Bigger Vision Films.
Yep.
We are off on our next trip. Lots of things to come. Going to be a very busy year. Stay tuned for more. See you next time.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.